Hey guys, it's Kamrin and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna do a girl talk. I haven't done a girl talk in so long. I asked you guys to send in some questions on Instagram. A lot of them are relationship related. Did everyone get broken up with? Cause like we all was going through it, huh? I'm gonna answer all those questions today while I get ready because I am also going to dinner with a friend tonight, so I figured I'll just do my makeup on camera. Also, I'm not gonna go over the makeup and stuff that I'm using just because I already have a video filmed where I talk about all of my everyday makeup routine stuff. Also, this chair is so squeaky. I'm gonna prep my skin first. The first question I got was how to get over a recent breakup. So many of y'all were asking me this. I tend to kind of shut off my emotions quite a bit, so I don't typically get hit with the feelings of like a breakup till like 2 or 3 weeks later. Like in the past, I have always been the one that initiated the breakup in a way. It just ended up being kind of one of those things where it was like, okay, it was something that I wanted, but obviously it still hurt, but I didn't feel it till a couple weeks later. But I would say like the best way to get over a relationship, I used to say all the time like the best way to get over a relationship is to start with somebody new, but that is like the worst advice ever. I think that was my problem. I would constantly go to find someone new, and then next thing you know, I ended up in another relationship. The best thing to do when you get out of a relationship is just like just focusing on yourself, taking that time to love you and finding something that you love doing and like really appreciating this time you're gonna have with yourself. Even with the horrible things that happen to us, there's just so much growth that can happen in them, and there's so much that we can learn and take away from it. And I feel like the best thing as women that we can do is just really truly love ourselves and be content with ourselves and not need emotional support from someone else. Find yourself, like be okay with being with yourself, find hobbies. Like recently what I've been doing is I've really structured my routine out. So now I'm super on top of working out again. I'm super on top of staying like healthy and eating healthy. I got a library card, so now I'm getting back into reading. I feel like it's really important to find something that kind of keeps your time busy, not to the point where you're not thinking about what's going on, because that's another thing that can be like quite detrimental, is if you're like not allowing yourself the time to grieve, which I think was also my issue too. Just giving yourself something to do and something to experience where it's not like, okay, I lost my entire life, because that can kind of be how it feels when you leave a relationship. Relationships take up a lot of your life. They take up a lot of your emotional capacity. The best thing to do is just like start prioritizing yourself. Like basically see it as like, all right, I got out of a relationship with this person and now I'm getting into a relationship with myself. It's really, really, really important to have friends during this time, because then I feel like that's when you start gravitating towards wanting to be in a relationship with somebody else again, where it's like, all right, shit, I'm kind of lonely. Like, let me go be with somebody else. When you have friends, it's like, okay, I have the company that I need. You have people there that are your support system and stuff. The next question somebody asked was how to reduce stress. When you find out the answer, let me know. I'm just kidding. I think it's kind of similar to like the relationship advice. You know, breaking up can be quite stressful too, so you have to kind of figure out like how to relieve that stress. Like finding things that make you happy, things that kind of put you at peace, stuff that kind of mellows you out. I had to learn to really like honestly figure out what mellows me personally out, because there's so many people, like I would look online and it'd be like, oh, yoga and journaling and whatever, and it's like, dude, I am not one of those people. Everyone has their different formats of de-stressing. You just have to find like what is gonna work for you. Once again, allow yourself that time to feel whatever you're feeling, but also kind of like plan out a solution. Like to me, the most times I have stress is when I'm worrying about something that I don't know how it's going to turn out. The best thing to do is kind of like game plan. Like personally for me, I feel like stress comes from like the unknown. And once you kind of get an idea of like how you can fix that, I feel like that kind of alleviates your stress. And if there is no solution to it, then you kind of have to just tell yourself like, hey, I'm allowed to feel this way about about whatever's going on. I'm gonna let myself feel these emotions, and then it's time to move on, because there's literally nothing I can do to fix it. Next question. Best comfy panties for no underwear lines at the gym. I hate underwear. Like I hate bras, I hate underwear, I hate literally everything. Lately, I have been wearing the Victoria's Secret pink or Victoria's Secret, I don't know if it's pink or not. Just their seamless underwear, their panties, they be a little small. I don't know whose coochie lips are supposed to fit in there. Apparently mine, but they make like these super flat seamless, let me see if I can find them. Not me about to show my panties on the internet. So they are these like little seamless panties like this. They're from Victoria's Secret Pink. I own like 20 or 30 pairs of them, like dead ass. They're amazing. They don't show under your clothes at all. They actually have an even flatter design. I have them, but they're in the wash right now. I couldn't find them. But they're literally like skin tone and they're nude color. So those are perfect. They will not show under your gym wear at all. I'll link them down below if you're interested in buying them. I'm pretty sure if I can find a link, I will have it. So the next topic, someone said repeated heartbreak and failed long-term relationships. Like I said, there is so much relationships topics that everyone asked about. That kind of goes in hand with the first thing. I totally feel you on that, because I feel like once we kind of get into relationships that are so long, it's like, all right, well, I figured like I'm gonna be with you. I'm not suspecting there to be any kind of change, like, and it's nuts when it kind of blows up in your face. I personally have felt like I have been so disappointed in myself. Like I'm like, I don't understand why I cannot make these relationships work. Like what's going on? What's wrong? Obviously the biggest fix for all these things, because I am far from perfect and I am not the easiest person to deal with. And I totally have acknowledged my faults in relationships. I think a lot of times, I don't know, personally for me, I've noticed that I used to put a lot of blame on other people. And obviously there are things that people do to you in relationships, like cheating and stuff like that, that there's just no excuse for. But in other situations, it's best to look at like where you were involved in that situation and how you as a person can be better. I have had to kind of realize like, hey, I'm not perfect. And obviously I have problems and I don't bring like this flawless, you know, plate to the table. I bring issues with me, and obviously there are things that has to be changed in a relationship for it to work. And I also had to understand, it's like I'm only 20, like I don't really see there being a thing like, shit, none of my relationships are working out. If you're like 20, 25, 20, like you're new to life basically. You're new to dating, especially if you like never dated way early on in life. And even if you did, it's like, what the fuck do you know at 15 about dating? Having that kind of kindness with yourself and understanding like, dude, you're young. Like obviously you're not going to figure everything out. Obviously there are going to be failed relationships and things. Knowing what happened in those relationships and knowing what needs to be changed and moving forward in the next relationship, and making sure to not do that same exact mistake and making sure to understand what you really want. I think the biggest problem with women in general is that we tend to settle a lot of the times for things that we originally, before we got into a relationship with the person, wouldn't have been okay with. Like we'll be like, oh, I don't want a guy who burps. And then we go with the guy who burps. And then it's like, well, obviously you didn't want that and you settled for that anyway. So the smartest advice I ever got from somebody was to make a list of exactly the kind of person that you're looking for and make sure you stick to that list completely. Like if you want someone that is super patient and super sweet and, you know, cooks dinner on Wednesdays and drives a Lamborghini, that needs to be on your list until you find somebody who hits everything on that list. Like don't get involved with anyone, because you're basically setting yourself up for failure. You have to learn what you like and what you want so that you don't set yourself up to be in another failed long-term relationship, because I feel like it's just so common for us to especially ride through things that we're not happy with completely, and it's like, well, I put this time and I invest this time into you. I feel like there's this idea of something that could be great, but it's not there. Nobody likes to break up. I don't know about y'all, but I hate breakups so freaking much, and I will stay in something literally just to not break up. And I feel like it's just so much smarter to know what you want, be confident in what you want, know who you are, know your faults and how to fix that before you get into another relationship with somebody, so that you can erase having to do more failed relationships. And therapy is always a great idea for everyone. I am starting to go to therapy, so, you know, I am trying to fix what's wrong with me and kind of be a little bit better in my friendships and my relationships in general. So you talk about girl best friends when you have a boy. Okay, I'm not sure if she means like boyfriends that have girl best friends or having girl best friends when you're in a relationship. So I'll just answer both. I'll just kind of give my opinion. Talking first about having a boyfriend that has a girl best friend. I dated this guy once before. I remember me telling him like everyone that I dated and him telling me everyone that he dated, and it was like, all right, cool, this is who you dated, like just kind of knowing each other, like our history or whatever. Keep in mind this was high school, so I ended up finding out through his email that he was talking to his girl best friend on Twitter or whatever. I had never known that they dated, and he conventionally left that out. So when I talked to him about it, I was like, hey, you never told me that you had dated your girl best friend before. And he was like, oh yeah, like I forgot to mention that, like yeah, I thought I told you, like we had a thing, whatever. It's not happening anymore, so you don't have anything to stress about. I should have ran from that moment. I kind of let it slide, and then for the next several months, I basically spent the entire time trying to be convinced that nothing was going on. Long story short, something was going on, but that kind of scarred me with guys that have girl best friends. I know there are so many people that are like, you can be platonic friends, but I personally just don't believe that, especially with guys. Men have a very hard time controlling themselves. And when I say best friends, I don't mean like, oh, I don't believe that you can have a male and female friendship and like it not be platonic, because I totally think you can have male and female friendships, but I just don't think that you can have best friends, like the type like, oh, I'm gonna go kiki with you, we're gonna be out all the time, blah, 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 whatever. Like, I don't think that's possible, because it's just like, if you're that close of friends and you get along so well like that, why are you not dating each other? And somebody could be like, oh, I don't see him that way, or I don't see her that way. Listen, y'all get 5 drinks in you and you're gonna see each other that way real fucking soon. Nah, I'm good, because y'all finna be at the club, something's gonna happen. No, I just don't trust it. If you got a girl best friend, I'm good off that. Like, I just don't want to be involved with it. There's somebody who likes somebody else, and something had to have happened eventually, and something, if it hasn't, it's going to happen. Girl best friends, when you have a boyfriend, I don't really see why there would be, I don't really like know what would be the issue about that. I guess if you had like single girl best friends or something when you had a boyfriend, and they obviously like wanted to go do more crazy things, because that was kind of my thing. I'm like always the friend that's dating somebody. I mean, you can go hang out with single people and be totally fine. Like, basically, like, just don't be flirting with nobody and don't go home with anyone and you're fine. Like, I'm not really sure. I hope I got kind of understood what you were saying. If not, I'm so sorry. Femininity, I just want to know your opinion on it. This can kind of, because it's such like a broad statement, it can kind of go pretty all over the place. I know there's like a big spike in men kind of embracing their femininity more, which I totally love. I grew up in a very conservative household, so I heard a lot about like men having to live in their manly roles and shit. I've always thought that was so fucking stupid. Like, literally do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. If you want to wear a dress and paint your nails, literally do whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happiest. I am so happy for you. I am kind of glad that gender norms are kind of getting pushed down and people can be more comfortable in what they like and who they are. Like, I remember when I was little, I felt like I was more in touch with my masculine side because I was around my brother and my dad so much. So I like to not have my shirt on. I like to go dirt biking. I like to play with like dirt and shit. Like, that was my kind of thing. And the fact that it was like, well, you can't do that because you're a girl. It was like, why? Why are those things boy things? That's just so confusing as a kid because you don't really understand that kind of stuff. Like, you just know that you like doing those things. When I was growing up, like, oh, I don't want her doing that kind of stuff that's too boyish, or like, I want to make sure she doesn't turn out gay or anything, which is just so fucked up because like kids don't think like that. Like, they're just trying to have fun. They just want to play with what they want to play with. This is kind of controversial. I know like some people are choosing to raise their kids gender neutral and kind of let them figure out things as they go. I think like kind of not telling your kids like, hey, you fit into this category, but if you don't want to, that's fine. I think it can be like kind of quite confusing. I'm not sure, I've never had a kid yet, so I can't really say, that's just my opinion. But I definitely personally would just not be raising my child with the idea that they have to wear pink or they have to wear blue or they can't play with fire trucks or they can't put on a dress if they want to. Not that I want kids, but like if I did. Obviously, yeah, there are stuff that are stereotypically more women-like, but I don't think it's like something that everyone doesn't have inside of them. I think men and women are both quite feminine And I love when both parties can kind of embrace both sides. How to make girlfriends and meet like-minded people. Y'all asking me questions that I am struggling with myself. This is like the biggest thing with people, I guess, like our age, where so many of us lost our friends from high school because obviously you're just not the same person you were in high school, especially with COVID because we're not going to school or anything. In this weird gap now where it's like, okay, I don't have friends and I have no fucking clue how to make friends in my 20s. Like, especially as someone like me who stays home and I don't go to school, I literally don't leave the house. Like, who am I supposed to make friends with? I don't know how to do that. We're really starting to come into who we are, and that means that we're starting to lose people that were kind of what we thought were concrete in our life. But now we're in this weird awkward stage where it's like, okay, I'm trying to find new people. How do I do that? How do I not seem creepy? I used to literally be so scared to even ask people to hang out. I'd be like, nope, I know they don't want to hang out with me. I know everyone has too much friends. Like, I'm the only 20-year-old in this world that doesn't have friends. But I think social media is kind of great in that sense that we can feel connected to people. There's so many people that are like lonely and they don't have friends. Once I understood that, it was like, okay, I know that I'm not alone in this, and I know there are other people that are lonely too, and I know there are other people that are looking for friends. My best tool, personally, just because I don't go to school, well, I go to school but I do online school, and I don't go to work, is I just use social media to try and reach out to people that are like in my area that are kind of in the similar field that I'm in. And that's the great thing about social media, is because you know, like, you get a gist of what these people are like, so you'll know like if they're compatible with you. In terms of making friends with people like in the real world outside of social media, that's where things get kind of difficult because you don't really get like a trailer of the person. You kind of have to just wing it out. The best thing is just like learning to handle rejection, because sometimes people aren't going to want to be your friend, and that's okay. How to let go of someone you love. I think it's one of those things that it gets better with time. One of the best mental practices I kind of took and learned from, which helped me a lot, was to kind of write down this pros and cons list and what I took away from the relationship and how it bettered me and how I grew from it. And then also the things that I didn't like. All the stuff that were like cons and the things that I didn't like, and you know, how I felt, the negative reactions that I felt in that relationship. I wrote it down on a piece of paper and then I burned it. Which kind of is like, it's symbolic, but it kind of feels like a release. And then the good parts, it was like, all right, well, I just have to learn to cherish what I had. I have to learn to appreciate this experience and understand like it's done. I think the thing that messes people up the most is trying to stop loving someone that they loved, which is just so impossible, because when you truly do love someone, you just can't stop. It takes time to get over it. You got to give yourself the time to heal, which kind of correlates back to the first question that we had. So someone has to talk about discoloration. Y'all know I ride or die for some laser. Laser has been the biggest help for me in terms of discoloration. Damn, I gotta get a drink. Put on my underarms and my bikini area. I also have a whole video where I talk about how to lighten those two areas if you're interested. At the end of the day, we have to remember, like, especially if you're a woman of color or even not, just it's just natural to have areas that are a little bit darker, and it's literally just like a thing that men created because they saw it in porn, that like everyone is one smooth color, which is like literally not the case. Like there's just like nobody who looks like that without laser, toning, bleaching, like makeup. My underarms are a little bit darker and I'm okay with it. It's natural. My coochie is a little bit darker and that's okay. Like, we are not painted canvases. Nobody is one skin tone. How to get out of depression. This is another one that I'm trying to figure out. I guess the easiest answer to this would be therapy. I feel like the best solution to trying to get out of depression is kind of understanding why you're there, why you're feeling that way, and also allowing yourself that time to have those feelings and not trying to bulldoze over them. Because something that I used to do every time I was feeling really, really down is it would just be like, all right, well, you have things to do and you felt like this yesterday, so you can't feel like this again today. There's just no time. It's gonna make me sound literally insane. I go to my bathroom and I sit in my corner and I just talk to myself about everything that I'm feeling. Like, I just vocally express it. Sometimes I even turn on the camera and I just like talk to it, so you can do it on your phone. But it feels like you're talking to someone, and it's kind of like a release method. And allowing yourself like some downtime, like give yourself like 30-40 minutes when you're feeling like that, and just take a breather, do something that makes you feel good. The worst thing you can do is try to ignore it. Take it from someone who spent years ignoring it. How to make friends when in a relationship, because I suck at this. A really common thing with girls, like, not being able to make friends when they're in a relationship, and I totally understand you, because I was literally the same exact way, especially because when you're in a relationship, you get quite comfy with having like one person with you all the time. So then your significant other becomes your friend, and then it's like, okay, well, I have somebody who loves me and is there for emotional support of any kind that I need. Like, why do I need friends? Like, they hang out with me, I have fun, I have all this kind of other stuff. You can't have your significant other be your entire entity. I feel like that's when relationships go awry. That's what was always my issue, is because I'm the kind of person that I want to be with whoever I'm dating, like literally like this. It's very vital to get out and to make friends and to have a life outside of your relationship. Sometimes it's nice to find girls that are also in relationships. You might want to find people that relate to you in a relationship, so you can utilize Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, find people in your area. Was it easy/difficult getting into a new relationship? I struggled to move on. Like I said, I have no issue typically with getting into a new relationship, and that is because I use the new relationship as a coping mechanism, which I highly do not suggest doing at all. It's extremely selfish to the other person, because the emotions you have for them never end up being completely genuine. If you're coming from a relationship that you were like obviously very into, there is no set time for when it's like time for you to move on to another relationship. It's really about how you feel. I mean, if you are not ready to move on, don't move on. If you start with somebody new and you're still into the other person, you're only going to damage that other person. And that's just selfish to do to somebody else, especially if they're someone that came into the relationship and they're ready to be with you and they're totally into you. I would say there's no reason to start with somebody new if you're still thinking about the other person. Basically, you are using that other person to fill your void, and that's just never a good idea. Hi, let me call you in a minute because I'm filming.
You're what?
I'm filming.
Oops.
There's no need to be in a relationship to be fulfilled. Like, you should be totally okay being by yourself and happy alone, and there shouldn't be that like drive to go be with somebody else. When you meet that next person, you should just know, like, okay, I think I'm ready. You'll know when the time is right. That is it for my girl talk. I finished my makeup, so I'm gonna get dressed, but I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Once again, this is just my opinion. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want me to do more girl talks. They were kind of fun. I will see you guys later. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and follow my social media, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.